Hello everyone, welcome to MLPDS, My Little Pony Drawing School live critique stream. I don't know what number we're at.
We are at 108, I believe. Hold on, I can do this.
No, we went past 200, so...
Yeah, we're 208, sorry.
So there's some math
Not
going on
100.
here. Oops, that's not the thing that I needed. Where is it? Oh, here we go. There we go, I picked the right one, woohoo!
Woohoo!
So welcome. We are here in the My Little Pony Drawing School, where we learn to draw ponies. And here on the screen, what do we have? We have some ponies.
Whoa.
Here with me,
Never would have guessed.
I am your local sleepy raccoon, as you can see by the art in the bottom corner that I just made before the stream quickly. And I have taken over from the zombie. That's right. It's a continuing in the line of raccoon takeover.
We're having a coup.
And here with me,
A raccoon.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I love that so much. My fluffy partner in crime, Ali Claw.
Hi, how's it going?
and we have Pixie Knob.
I'm here legally representing Living Dead's interests, and I'm here to get the thing back on track. But you know, we'll play along for now.
He always had to send a lawyer, didn't he?
Are you joining Huffy, or are you just like chilling?
I'm just kind of lurking.
Okay,
So.
we have an audience member.
Well, I'm not
Huffy
now because I said something. But hello.
Yes,
Alright,
raccoon. I
so
love that. Okay, so yeah, here we go. We've got drawings.
pony. Yeah. Where should we start? I
top
have
left?
everything set to read.
Yeah, let's just go for top left. Go reading direction.
Alrighty. So we got these cute little flurry heart.
This is cute.
Flurry Heart and Skyla. I'm guessing that's the princess that's not official, but they made a toy of it.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
think it
I
was supposed to
believe
be
it's
like
the
her
toy.
original form or something, and then she had like a different name in the show, and I was like, what? I never knew what she looked like, so. Hasbro, why do you make so many toys?
They have written in the comments, this took 4 hours and 15 minutes. Probably shouldn't have taken me that long. Oh well.
Oh, it's okay.
Listen,
It's
it's
not
not a
too long
race.
at all.
I
Like-
used some of the advice I got from other drawings. I made the second ear and wing visible. I used lines of a different size for little details. I made the legs and the neck bigger than usual. I also made the outline a darker shade of the pony's color. Used to draw with black lines. Shading is still not my
Ah,
strong
way to
set.
go trying out color lines. It's super fun to do that.
Absolutely.
And look,
Yeah.
and it
And
paid
then
off, I think.
finally,
Yep.
finally, the wings were supposed to be in the standard MLP style.
I can see that. Well, way to go. I think it seems you're trying a lot of stuff, and I think it's going really well. Forgive me, I'm eating caramel shortbread. So I think it's came out super well. I remember the time when I was like, I was like timing myself, and I drew a picture, and it took like 4 hours. I was sitting there drawing and drawing, and it took about 4 hours, and I was like, wow, that's such a long time of drawing. But now, like, it's super good, but it's not. Don't get too worried if you spend 4 hours drawing, because now it probably takes me a couple days to finish a picture. So.
Though I will say it is fun to time yourself. Don't let it consume
Yes.
you. Like, it's
Yeah.
good to know.
Just to
but
pay
it's
attention
also-
to.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. Whether you are someone who, like, some people draw super duper quickly, and some people draw with over a period of time, and it doesn't change how good you are as an artist. I just I have zoom in and zoom out buttons on my tablet. That's nice.
As far as you mentioning line weight, I definitely love that you have different line weights. Do more changes, because right now the biggest difference I see is the little tiny line weights in the hair versus the other lines elsewhere. You could incorporate them mid-transition. They don't have to be separate lines from each other. You could literally have a line, like if I was just drawing a line, look how thin that is, and then I put pressure, and then I make it thin again. They can all, it can be the same line but have different sizes as you have the same line. That sounds like words that don't make sense at all, but
Sometimes art is just words that don't make sense at all, but make a lovely picture.
an example of how to use that though is I'll go down to the fluffy feet here. Hold on, I just accidentally changed my pen. So you have these nice thick outlines for the legs. It's usually really nice to have that solid outline, but since there's fluff on the end, fluff is really light, it's soft, it's very airy. Lighter lines help, the thinner the line, usually the airier, lighter it feels. The thicker the line, the more stable and strong something is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go off this hoof here, you have your thick line, but then maybe the hairs get a little wispier. You get that feel. And then it just goes back into being thick in the hoof, having that strength, and then, oh no, some more wisps appear.
Fluff, 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 fluff.
You get stronger again. So it's like that kind of play with line width. If I were to challenge you, do some more of that. Play with it, like going in and out of different widths of line, depending on what you're drawing. Like wispy hair or strong legs.
With the colours of the mains, what I've kind of done here is defaced your work. But what I've also done is made it darker, sort of in here behind the head, and that's mostly to add a bit of extra contrast between this part of the mane and this very light jaw.
It differentiates the values a bit.
Yeah, it just makes it pop a little bit more, and it usually makes sense to have the parts that are like inset.
Yeah, so that would be done. That
unless
would be
there's,
done
like-
as like a gradient that fades towards the darker color around this side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that way it would look super nice. I think that would do, and it doesn't have to be a very strong effect, I don't think, but that would definitely highlight the faces a bit.
Helps the silhouette stand out a little bit more.
It's like
And you've
advanced
already
stuff
done-
just for polish.
Yeah. You've already done it with the two back legs, so it's like the same idea.
And I, with these hoof positions, you've got like these two kind of in a line, and if you draw like a line out to see the middle, this hoof is like crossed over to being like planted over here, which
That or it's
could
lifted up.
happen. Could
It
happen,
can, but you'd have to be specifically. It'd be a really awkward position to be standing in. Your center of gravity would be really weird.
get thrown off. But yeah,
It is hard
shift that a little
sometimes to
bit more
get
to the
them.
center.
Yeah, just to get them on like the right plane.
Yeah, no,
Easily
I
overlooked.
always whenever I'm like sketching out a pose, I'll like have a little bit of a ground plane and then sort of like work out roughly here, just so that I can like get a bit of a sense of like where in 3D space all the hooves align, because that's important to me.
Straightened up like the back of the head and the neck a little bit. Not perfect, but I hope this sort of helps show. You're not too far off of the mark, but it's just a matter of making the neck look less like a cone and more like a pony neck. Otherwise, anyone else got anything?
No, looks
It's
good. Keep
super cute.
trying.
I think you're
And I'd
doing.
like to mention, just so they know that we know, at least I know, they resubmitted the flurry heart with the gradient on the wings, because flurry heart has that pink gradient.
Right.
So I saw it. Now they know, and it still looks cute either way.
Yes.
I've
think you do.
added it.
Beautiful.
That's
Mwah.
the best gradient someone ever. I think you're doing good work. You've come a long way. Your art looks really beautiful. I think you're trying some nice things, and I want to see more of that.
And this is
Absolutely.
I don't know and I don't care. I forgot to mention their username at the beginning.
Okay.
I thought you were just saying you didn't care. Okay.
I don't know and I don't care. Why are we here now?
As long as
I don't know. I
ponies are
don't
being
care.
made.
Let's deface your work.
I don't know. I don't care. Now let's draw all over your hair.
Oh no.
Okay, we'll move along to this little sketch here.
Alrighty.
Is it a chocolate
So
sketch?
this is no, I believe this is pencil, but this is from Phoenix Fire, written in very elite speak, but I'm pretty sure it says Phoenix Fire. I drew a traditional art thing. Couldn't get the tail right. Please show me someone. And that's all it says.
Tails are tricky. So my first question is: this pony, you've obviously attempted your first couple of tries to draw the tail hanging down. Are they sitting on a wall or on the floor? It looks like they're sitting on a flat plane, because this looks like the horizon to me, and it looks like they're sitting, making a sort of bum scooch position, but it looks like they're sitting on the ground, I'd imagine. So the tail I mean, it can come in front of them, but what's happening right now is if we turn this pony to the side, and you know the legs are going up like this, and the front legs are going like this, then their tail is sort of like coming like this. So it's just a matter of understanding things in 3D space. Oops, what am I doing? So like if you want the tail to look like it's coming next to them, firstly remember the tails come out behind them, and you know typically the most comfortable position will be to have them behind, but if you do want them tucking around in front, which is totally understandable, just bear in mind there's some bend and stretch going on. The tail is going to be hooked around. It's coming towards us on sort of a flat plane, so it's not going to shoot down across the canvas. You know, I don't know what the shape of your tail is, so I'm just doing like a general tail croissant shape, so you can sort of fill in the actual design later. This isn't perfect really. The tail sort of coming out at this odd angle like this because the pony's spine goes here, the tail sort of comes out from here, so it really should like hook up a little bit, but it's hard to get that sort of no, I've lost my pen. There we go.
I know.
Run away.
Yeah, so you can have it sort of have like a bit of a poof out like this and hook around, or you can have it, I'll just leave this on the screen for a second and just like see if I can erase that a little bit. Okay. Or you can have it sort of come out naturally like this, and then lessen that, and hook around like this. It's just about trying to get that 3D appearance in. So if we look at this from the top, the tail is doing this. This is from like top down mode. So we're looking at it from like from like down above. So it's just a matter of understanding things in 3D perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and 3D perspective stuff just comes over time. Don't stress too much if you can't get it looking good right now, because you need to keep drawing and keep drawing a bunch of drawings where the 3D perspective is all weird enough, and then eventually it'll get a bit easier.
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle at first, but it's not too hard to sort of understand once you just give it some time.
And I know it sounds like lame advice, but really, art takes time, and the more you do it, it'll just get better, I promise.
Do you have any other points, Sally? Pixie?
No, you guys covered it.
It doesn't look like a particularly comfortable position for a pony to be sitting in.
Alright, so for moving on to our next art, of course, first come, first serve. We have Andor Dragon in the chat. They have submitted something. If you go all the way to the right, you should see it. It's the last image on the right.
Picture has appeared.
I snuck it in. Haha, teamwork
While I was
effort.
distracted. It's so efficient when like one person's hosting the stream and then one person is hosting the dropper. The LD does this all on his own. He's like, oh, now I've got to go to the web browser and paste it.
So, Ander wants color help, and they're going for a kind of sunset color scheme for her mane and tail, but they don't want it to have some complex gradient.
I see.
So far, I think it's really cute. She makes me think of like fruity ice cream, like sherbet.
She reminds me a little bit of Lusterdon. A tad. So main designs. Okay, so firstly, is this like a Misty from Pokemon like side ponytail, or is it like a back one? If it is a side ponytail, then it's absolutely fine where it is. If it's like meant to be like a back ponytail, I'm just gonna draw sort of a little bit of a guide for making it look more like it's actually behind her. But like I said, if it's meant to be on the side, then it's exactly in the right place. So ignore the blue lines. But if it's from the back, there we go. It would be more placed in that sort of direction. So that way it's hooking behind the body. And if it were to come down, it would sort of have to like sit on the body. So like that'd be awkward for her.
So I think my question would be, you say you don't want a complex gradient, but do you want a gradient at all? I kind of want to get the feel of what struggle with the gradient you're having. Yeah. Because you could just do strips of color if you don't want any gradient at all. And it's a back ponytail, so that was good critique.
Okay.
But yeah.
I think it might be the colors, because like, so the thing is, like, having a gradient greatly changes like how the colors feel and how they blend together. So at the moment, how you've got it like the orange and the yellow as is a very nice shape that's sort of very reminiscent of the actual like show style designs. having this like zigzaggy color change. Whereas having the fade, I think I can see sort of like where you might be struggling with trying to make it look right, because it's to do with how the colors will blend together, and it might not be super obvious in the eye. The yellow and orange, if you blended those, would be a little bit more easy to see, but it's you know, that sort of creates like a fiery look, and with the pink it does create like a sunset look, like you were saying. But I would pay attention to what you've got like over here, which Pixie's sort of working on over here, because it does make a very good like sunset color to go from that like pale through yellows and oranges to magentas, because that's actually sort of how the gradient will be. So it's all well and good to include the colors. It's another thing entirely to like structure them so it sort of channels from one to the other, in however many stages it needs to go there. If you don't want to have a gradient, it might be easier to do. It might not, depending on your drawing style. But what you could try doing, I don't know why I'm drawing this out, but let's see. You could try sort of going for like, well, let's use these colors over here on the right. So you could try doing it like multiple sort of overlapping colors, sort of like Rainbow Dash, but just horizontally rather than vertically. And it's like, okay, here's the color, here's the next color, you know, and each section of the mane and tail is like this. So it's not exactly a gradient, and it has that flow, but it's traveling from one color to the next, and you can see the distinguishment, but you can still also see the sort of journey of colors from a sunset sort of aesthetic. It's just an idea. If you don't like how that looks, you can change it, or maybe you could reverse it. But it's worth experimenting with.
Strips are cool. I think kind of one of the things that might be useful to think about or dig into is just the relationships between the different colors. It's like, you know, you go from over here, light, getting a bit darker, getting a bit towards the red, almost red, and then going down to the pink. If you look on the color wheel on the side, it's basically just like starting up at the yellows and then going all the way down. In the colors that you've got on her mane, there isn't really it kind of skips over the red, and so it looks a little bit interesting. So I'd probably just like add one more transition tone for that, so it makes its way around the color wheel a bit easier. And with this pink, with the yellow, it's not too crazy saturated. It's not too poppy. The orange isn't too saturated or poppy. This purple is almost 100% saturated, and so it kind of doesn't mix in as nicely with the rest of the color scheme. So kind of what I've done up here with my little circles is I've started off about halfway saturated, similar to the yellow you've got in the mane, and then slowly bumping it over to more and more saturated, so that it like just so it flows a little bit better, because that's the kind of stuff you have to look at when you're making up gradients and looking at how colors mix together and that sort of stuff. And you want it to do it nicely and smoothly.
Yeah. I agree.
Looking at what you said in the chat, I think 3 colors just look nice. 3 colors vertical.
Mm.
Very nice, but it's good to experiment. You can come up with all sorts of different ideas and determine what works and what doesn't work.
Those ones that Fluffy put over there are nice.
So I do kind of like Maze brought up that I like that it's not as balanced, that there's not like a clear gradient. It's like there's a prominent part of the gradient where you got these deep rich colors, and then it kind of like an actual gradient where eventually one smooths out more than the others.
Definitely.
I'm glad that my little scribbles can help you determine ideas.
And Ali's. Ali, how do you do that?
It's a super nice little ponytail you've drawn, Pixie. So yeah, hopefully that'll help you.
I need to absorb your powers, Ali and Fluffy.
Oh,
That's the real reason I'm here.
The true secret is you go to Derpy Boru and you stare at things.
That is
That's the
accurate, 100%.
Yeah.
You've given away
Besides,
all our
Pixie,
secrets.
you have your flowy secret powers. You trying to hide yours? I'll out you.
I know. Also, consider how the colours of her mane relate to her, the colour of her fuzz and fluff as well. Because you can make some interesting effects when you try out, different tints of colour, different shades, how saturated they are. You might find something fits a little bit more nicely with it.
Ooh, I like the sort of ginger's color. Yes, I think what Ali's doing is super nice. So like, especially around here, like if you had just like, don't use a gradient, but have these nice sort of hair like flicks and strands, to make it have a lovely little color. Even if you don't go for a full gradient, or you do what you've done up here and have it mostly like orange with like a bit of pink flecks at the end. I kind of like the eye color you're asking about. I like that it's blue. I think maybe you could try it if it was like a darker blue. That could work, because if it's like a sunset, you've got like all the right colors. But then I think having like a nice sort of like a dark sky. Yeah, we can do different eyes. So we have like a nice sort of dark sky color that could help like highlight the bright colors of the mane. And at the same time, it makes the eyes jump out a little bit. I don't know. Experiments. Yeah.
Yeah, I really do like the eye color. It's nice to have, because you have so many warm colors going on. It's nice to have that like contrast of a cool.
I like your design so far though. It's super good. Ooh.
Absolutely.
Just so like Ali had finished painting all these colours on the inside. Looks super nice. I like that idea.
I just stole Pixie's
crazy.
colors.
So, yeah, I like how it sort of like accentuates the flow. I know like actually doing it, it would be more full color. We're just sort of like trying to apply the colors so you can see them, but it's a super nice like flow to it. So.
Even with like solidly colored stuff, like say this is like your solid base hair color, you can then take you got the pink. So the pink isn't so great because it's so close to the red, but when you get the more contrasty orange going up in here, you can then like the design can be like streaky, not necessarily cut off in a flat line like, oh, here the orange goes here, but like you can have some flow to where it goes and ends.
They're all just strands of hair. So yeah, I hope the ramblings have helped you.
Maze posted a really pretty sunset picture that's like pretty much what inspires this pony, and I can totally see it. So you did good picking colors, I'd say, for sure.
Oh, that sunset is nice. Tail, yeah, just treat it similarly to the mane.
I mean,
it was especially the.
Yeah, because you have a ponytail, and you could have it mimic the tail itself, like. Yeah, there you go. He's just gonna do the same thing he's doing with the ponytail.
Yeah, I sort of saw that as like a placeholder while you were working on the main. So yeah. Well, hope you have some fun experimenting and come up with some lovely stuff, and we'd love to see your design once it's finished.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. We're gonna go
All right.
back up.
Back to our regularly scheduled art.
To the left. It's so
So
hard.
nice.
It's so awkward fitting a portrait picture into the screen. I love these seashell ones.
So this is by Flinkix, and my first drawing of MLP. That's all.
Very
This was your
lovingly
first
rendered.
time drawing MLP stuff? It's
So you need to draw more.
It's so much better than my first time drawing MLP stuff. Like, it's so much better. Look at that horn.
That horn's
Those
really
eyes.
nice.
And the flowy mane. Like, my first drawing of MLP was awful. So yeah, this is really good. I love like the body, like the neck has a really nice shape to it. I think there are a few. I mean, I can definitely see where there's some like shape balancing needed. We both have the blue colors now, dark blue colors from the colouring those eyes. So let's see. Yeah, here we go. So there's obviously like different ways of doing eyes, different shapes and stuff. I typically have quite a routine way of constructing my faces and eyes, but the show obviously has lots and lots of different eye shapes. Like even the main 6 all have a different eye shape to them, which is interesting. So what I'm doing might not be totally 100% exactly what you like agree with, but I'm just going to sort of work to balance the face a little bit by thinking about 3D aspects.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. So we're going to have the eye, so mostly the same as the other one. But then we're going to have a little bit of the cheek come out. I think at this angle it's sharp enough that we wouldn't really see the whole side of the face, but just like little bits of it. And a little bit of a chin that came out at a bad angle, but I can't really rotate my screen because otherwise I'll make everyone really dizzy.
That's the struggle.
I'm trying to like make sure I'm got the whole thing in view at once. This is a very nice polished sketch. You've done a good job of making it sort of very clean.
Mm.
Don't want to change your lovely neck too much. I'm just trying to join it up. There you go. So yeah, there we go. I hope this sort of shows. Yeah, you see this dotted line here that Pixie's done. I often do that too. It shows like the center of the face. See it now? That can be a plushie. There we go. 3D. These little I always do little tiny nostrils, but you don't have to. You know, just like little tiny flicks. So the what I've done here to explain, I always it's not too far out. I think you've got like the base of what you've drawn is very appealing to me. I think you've done a very good job, and I agree with the sort of structure you've gone for. I always prefer eyes to sort of meet towards the middle of the bridge and then go outwards like this. So anytime we on the stream see someone who has the eyes going like this, I'm always like, no, I have to make them go the other way. And I just showed this, what you can see Pixie's done dissecting. In the middle here is the bridge of the nose between the eyes. So you got the whole snoot comes up here and then goes like this up to the horn. So that whole thing here is the bridge of the nose between the eyes. So you can see how we've sort of structured it by bringing these... Oh, I've got purple. Now I've got black. How did I get black? I didn't even remotely click on black. Draw palette is weird.
Yeah, and that traces up to kind of the middle of the horn.
Yes. So it's a really good way of just understanding. Like, I think the nose and the bridge of the nose are like the perfect things for structuring the faces with ponies. And it's why I find drawing ponies much easier than other creatures, because like you do this little nose and then you just build the bridge right from the top of the line, and then from there you got like the horn and the eyes and the chin just fall into place, and then you can just put the ear in place easily and the neck, and just everything falls in from there. So just sort of do it's gonna look much cruder, but I'm just going to do it off to the side so you can see. Sort of, again, so here's a little smiley pony snoot. Snoot for booping. Here's the boop. Yeah. And then the bridge of the nose sort of comes in like a little bit of a hook, and it curves up.
Mm-hmm.
And the eye sort of comes out from here. So yeah. So that's actually how I draw all of my pictures. I construct them by building one thing off of the next. See, yeah. There goes Pixie with a scrunched boop nose. I'm going to boop that nose.
It's the boop war.
If you look at different artists, you can see how they draw, how they construct their things differently. It's like one of my favorite artists, Dill. He like specifically draws unicorns with a bit of an upturned muzzle, Pegasi with a bit of like a flatter one, and then like earth ponies with just like the flattest muzzles ever. And it's really interesting to see how different artists like construct their stuff and all that.
Yeah. Look at Ali going with those lovely clothes creases.
That's two.
Want to talk a little bit about that?
I really like bandanas, guys. I don't know if you know. I'm not good at drawing them as much as I like them, but just a little tip I would give. I know I kept drawing more of the bandana, but the direction of the crease is really important. You have a lot of crease lines just going out to the side, and while you do see those enclosed a lot, and you might see some in the center, the big tension here, when you're thinking of fabric, there's a tension, right? So the fabric tension is up here. This is like, oh, it's so tight. It's really tight up in that direction. Yep, Fluffy's drawing all those arrows. So the creases are going to be going towards that. That's the greatest part of tension. The next part of tension is going to be where it rests against the neck body area here. So then you'll have some creases pulling up against it. So this is where more of the center curvy pieces are going to be happening.
Yeah, the downwards arrows I drew are like gravity.
Like around the corner.
It's weight. It's weight. So like the cloth has weight to it, and it's going to fold over itself. So the gravity is going to be pushing it down and pulling away from the tension, which is going to have those creases going towards the tension.
And then besides crease directions, I'm not going to go too deeply into it because really studying fabric takes a while. No one can really just be like, this is how you draw fabric, then it's done. Study fabric, try to draw fabric from real life. If you can just like drape a t-shirt on a chair and then try to draw that, that's going to be the best way to learn fabric. Or anything like a towel or whatever, fabric related item. The other thing I did want to mention though is giving some thickness to your fabric. Now if I erase my orange lines here, you have a very like paper-like crease going on right here. It's very strict. It's just like boom, boom, like that. But there's some thickness to that fabric. It's rounding the neck, you know? It's not just like folded in half. It's going to have some flow. We're going to have it like kind of overlap in a way. So without drawing, just, you know, burp, burp, there it ended. We're giving it like how it's hugging the neck. We're building that form so it doesn't feel flat. It feels like there's volume there because it's, you know, draped around something. So that's just a little thing you can do to keep in mind the liveliness of the fabric. It has form, you know, it's not just a sheet of paper. But yeah, that's just a little something to think about.
It's like if you have a sleeve turn out, it's going to be a little hoof because I'm not drawing a hand. Go away. So like, yeah, it's just a matter of how to make fabric feel a little bit thicker and rounder. So.
Yeah, fabric's thin, but it does have thickness.
Also, sleeves coming up right up to the end of the hoof/hand are adorable. Do that. Wear long sleeves.
with the up at the main, kind of what I've done and what might be useful is just thinking more about the overall shapes of things. Like with this main, it's like really super awesome and cool, but it is a little bit difficult to kind of read at first. And like maybe like if you separate it out into like parts of the main like this or something like that, it could be cool or stuff like that. Just thinking about the overall blocky big shapes that are gonna really define the silhouette, really define
some more definition to sort of show this.
Yeah.
I think this is actually something that I do, not all the time, but especially when designing a character or drawing a character I've only drawn once since I designed them, is to do exactly that. So it's like saying, hey, so this, I'm going to choose a different colour because why not? So this main's going to sort of go like this-ish. So here's the main sort of like, there's the main sort of design shape, I suppose, and you know, like obviously that's not a good enough main, so we're just going to take that as a basic idea for a shape, and then you go in and you work out the details and much more like specific, just make it look a lot more like a natural main, you know. So it's like, okay, so I have the basic idea of like how I want this main to fall and how I want it to flow. So you don't need to follow exactly to where that is. It's just a guide to help you figure out like the direction you're going in, and then it feels like everything's got this nice like definition to it. And you can go back and say, hey, no, maybe not that, maybe this. And maybe draw a partial, let me switch my tools when I want to. It's like, hey, cool. So there we go. We have a nice main shape. It's just about sort of creating a definition. That's just a useful technique you can do if you're struggling to design a mane, and I've done that plenty of times, or like not just manes but hairstyles in general on like characters. I'll be like drawing a hair over and over again on a person, trying to figure out, and then I'll just go in and just really as well just. So okay, so I'll just go over here in the corner. Here's this person's face. Woo! Here's a random human head shape. Cool. Here's a little ear. Whatever. And so I'll be struggling with drawing the hair, and I'll literally just be like, okay, it's like okay, so maybe not like that. Maybe it's like this, and okay, so some plucky bits there. Cool. No, so should we kind of do like this, or maybe more flat, maybe more spiky. Okay, cool. And then I'll just literally do that, and I'll just go from there, and I'll rub it out, and I'll make it more specific. So like going super messy like that, just to get the general
I love that.
feel of like, okay, this is roughly, if I were to squint really hard, how the hair is gonna look. And it really helps to get that direction in.
Yeah, something that I find can really help in getting down these sort of like basic shapes and that sort of stuff is to do things really quickly. Like, you know, set an alarm for a minute, 2 minutes, and then go like, all right,
Go make a cup of tea. Darn.
Yeah, have like a base of a head, and then be like, all right, I've got like a minute to sort of sketch out a hairstyle thing, and then, you know, do your best to kind of block it out in like these big shapes and try to get something that sort of looks natural, and just do that a bunch, and, you know, look at references and try to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I love it.
And focus on what shapes look interesting. You know, boxes, triangles where like one side is favored, that sort of stuff.
Drawing from just like putting a bunch of shapes together and figuring out a drawing can be a really fun exercise. Like, what do you see in this shapes? It could be something really obvious, like a robot made out of those shapes, or it can be like just like the general body construction and action lines that go into like a human form, or it could just be something really abstract and weird. It's fun.
And don't be too worried about letting your shapes cross the boundaries as well. Like if I'm like, you know,
yeah, being loose and expressive is such a good thing to get into.
Having shapes that like go across the whole figure and that sort of stuff can be really interesting and cool.
Yeah.
Just stuff that fills the canvas. Just put content on there for your creativity to bounce off of can be really helpful, even if it's just nonsense. I like this. Snoot zoom. Oh, I failed the snoop zoom. Snoot zoom. The pixels of the snoot. Okay, we're gonna move on. Controlling this program is a nightmare. We're gonna go down to the bottom left, but there's this suave-looking bat pony down here.
I like the little cowboy you drew, Pixie.
Why are we critiquing perfection?
Right, this picture's so good. Do they have any questions, Alan?
Let me pull up their thing.
Our special informational aliquot.
I will say this is just so cute. Oh, your faces. I love your eyes and your nose. Oh, anyway.
The nose is exactly the nose I like. And the wing, look at that muscly wing. Oh.
So good. This is from Gallon, obviously. Gallon Arts. Try doing that line art style thing that most people draw in. I'm not too experienced with lines, but I tried to do some weight where could and not have things too stiff. Also experimenting with a full body. Anything I could change about the shading or the lines to fit better in this style?
So,
Okay,
things.
so
Firstly,
look at this and look at this, and they are absolute masterclasses in using line weight variation.
So so the first sentence sort of confused me because it's like, okay, it's like the line art style made me think like a specific like style that you were going off of, but then you said that everyone seems to draw, and it's like having a line art style is something that people do, I guess. Because this doesn't particularly look like any one person's thing. It just looks like nice, like experimentations into line variation, and it's very very fun. I had a hate relationship with line art until recently, and I developed a way of doing it that I actually super duper love, and I haven't really seen done much by anyone, and so I feel like it's something that's really made my art pop a bit, and I actually enjoy doing line art now because of it. So I love to see that like recently we've seen you experimenting with lots of painterly stuff, and that's been super duper great, and it's awesome to see you also experimenting with like really heavy line art styles, because it's equally as expressive, and I think it's you've done a super good job of breaking ground here. Shading, I only bring up because I literally just noticed like it's something you could accentuate, that there's a shadow cast here. I don't know. Maybe other things too, but I love having shadows within shadows to really build up the fact that stuff is overlapping.
I think if I could for a moment go back to the line art
I'm not
aspect of
supposed to be
things.
zoomed in. I'm sorry.
I think you're getting really great. Like Pixie pointed out, your nose and your ear are like the perfect idea of good line weight and just distributing it across the drawing. Some things though, I feel like you almost don't need to do lines on, like these hip lines here.
Yeah, I was just looking at this because it's like, what, I don't quite know. At first they sort of strike me as like muscle lines, but it makes the body look really strangely shaped if that's the case.
Now, if they see the thing with the muscle lines, the ankle down here, I think is great. I think because that's a very bony part of the pony.
But this is all flesh and fur. So
yeah, unless your horse itself is super duper muscular, a lot of these lines will be really soft, and maybe you might get a hint of where they are by your shading. I don't think they're so prominent that you need a full-on line to, put them there. But that could just be a personal choice. I think it's just practice where the line should go and what you're trying to communicate with those lines. Now, what Pixie just drew is little fluffs, right? That was you, Pixie? I think I caught your name.
Nice.
Those little fluffs, I think, is the more prominent thing that would be caught in line. Like that has an edge to it.
And we see that they're a fluffy pony from like the little tuft of fluff on the ears and like the shoulder and hook. We can already see those lovely fluffy bits. So we know that they have some fur on them.
Because
go ahead.
Continue.
No, please go for it.
I was just gonna say with these lines, like when you draw these sorts of lines, what they're trying to do is sort of show off the contours, show off how the form is bending. Like with this little part here, this bony part is sticking out, and with this part here, it's like really bending across here. When you're in these sorts of areas, you don't have many sort of sharp contrasts, and so like doing things like fuzz and fur and that sort of stuff is the best way to sort of add these sort of contour lines, so you can sort of show how things are twisting around and that sort of stuff.
I totally agree. Very well said. Oh, and for the bandana lines, I'm not sure what some of these little markings are on the bandana. I know they may be little fabric wrinkles, but I feel like they're not quite.
This one's not too far off, but yeah, the other
one's close. But
other ones like that they sort of look a little bit too abstract.
They don't feel like they
I
fit. Yeah.
I appreciate, because I feel like these were sort of done quite like, oh, that's just shapes, and I appreciate the sort of aspect of keeping it loose like that. I do think it's worth just sort of putting a little bit more time into okay, how would the fabric be bending, where are the sort of tension lines here, and just not doing a very good job of it, but yeah. Like what we were talking about, what Ali was talking about in the last picture, the bandana, and just like looking at how fabric folds works. You've done a really great job of showing the weight. I love this whole section where it's like this big heavy fold. It's just when it comes to the little details, it's a case of just looking at what those are saying about the fabric. Like, because sometimes whether you have like a big drastic like, oh, look how these folds are going, or whether you have little tiny things like this, can actually tell you things about the fabric and the texture of it. Like if you look at like a pair of jeans versus like a, I don't know, jogging bottoms like I'm wearing right now, and it'll have completely different like structures of the fabric. So that was a trick that I sort of like picked up a while ago. It's like, do you have like lots of big lines, which obviously looks like a loose fabric, or little tiny ones? So it's a matter of like the little details. Sometimes you don't And it might not have any at all. Maybe it's just like a flat sock or something. So it's the little details might not be necessary, or they might need to be done differently. It's just yeah. I think less might be more in this case. Not sure if you agree, Ali.
Sorry, what?
Not sure if you agree or if you have your own.
Sorry, my cat was being a cat.
Distracted by cat.
I cannot confirm or deny if I agree.
I'm
apologize.
I'm mostly going off of some of Maze's extremely insightful comments. This light grey outline for the wing, it's might make sense for sort of the color of the wing, but it doesn't really make sense for sort of the 3D depth of it. Like with because you've made it the sort of 3D, the sort of like really grey color. It almost like fades into the background and looks like it should be like behind all of this head area, when I think it's meant to be like sticking out a little bit towards the camera, and so like adding a little bit of a darker silhouette, darker lines there, so that it like pops a bit more from the background is good.
Yeah, I agree. I think that comes down to like, you don't want your shadows to be darker than your line art.
Yeah.
Unless it's a certain, color stick style.
Yeah.
But
I think what's happened is in some areas we can see the line art being lighter from just like the shading, the highlights and stuff changing the highlight color. It's just a matter of making sure it's a bit more balanced. And I would darken the wing outline. I do like that it sort of differentiates, and it is a very interesting thing you can do. Like, you can so drastically change the color of things just by like what they're surrounded by. So like, even if it was a very similar, I can tell it's different on the base even without the shading, but even using like a different outline color from a part next to it that might be the same color can already like differentiate how our brain reads them. But it's a case of just making sure everything's balanced.
Whenever I draw with watercolors, traditionally what I tend to do is behind every part that sticks out, I'll have a little bit of just a bit of a darker area there, just to show that it really sticks out. Yeah. And it can help to sort of think about similar sorts of stuff when you're working digitally as well, because it can really help make things pop. I also added some like little tiny fuzzies to this bits of the ear, just so that it's more fuzzy wuzzy and not so
solid,
like bits of plastic that you can take out and make grooves in things with.
Yeah, it's the difference between just sort of like rigid shapes and actually making it look like fluff. Fluff needs to be loose.
It sort of reminds me of Sonic. The little bumps that Sonic characters have all over.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any other points? Any questions we missed?
Just keep going.
Yeah, great Gallon art. I love to see you trying things. And as for, don't feel like you need to do line art. Do it if you find it fun. It's just an artistic choice. It's like choosing to work in watercolor or paint or digital. It's just choose it if you want to.
I like it.
A lot of people do it.
I like it, and I think you're doing a really, really good job of it. I think it's working for you. But if you hate doing it, like, there could be a different way of doing it that you like what happened with me, or it could be like, try not using it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
I think it'd be really cool to see you do a little bit more of the fabric and that sort of stuff, and maybe even do some like still life. Get a little pile of fabric next to your desk somewhere, next to your computer, and then just like try drawing it and seeing how close you can get.
Yeah, because you have this really nice realistic form of lighting. It'd be really cool if you can get the forms of fabric then to get those realistic forms of lighting in on them. So, because line art, it's like it really relies on the forms for you to depict them in line art, and then also shape them with lighting, with your style, how you're doing it. Because yours is very shaped with lighting, but also uses line art. Yeah, so cute. Like, always love seeing your stuff, Gallon. Seriously.
Yeah.
Always welcome.
Gallon is goals.
Yes, very
Gallon
much
goals.
so. Gallon should be here teaching the stream.
Yeah, he should be in charge. We should all retire.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. We got to the right here. We got a spooky pwn. And a worried-looking pwn.
Oh my god.
But guess what? It's really awesome because this is one of those draw this again, and this is
Yeah.
the original piece from 2018. First of all, this is by
Okay.
Lexi Sketch. They decided to draw an old piece from 2018 as a way to get back into drawing MLP. So I'm guessing they've been a bit away from MLP for a while. But yeah, that's all there is. This is a redraw, and I love seeing redraws. So it's really awesome to see how you've
Yeah,
given that
super
hair.
awesome.
Like
Mm-hmm.
So I think your posing on everything is much better in this new version. I'm being honest, I do actually quite like how Sombra looks in the original one, just because I mean I can see that the body's a lot more flat, especially around the arms. You've clearly got a much better idea of 3D space in the new one. I like how he looks very sort of like puffed up and majestic and like a sort of just powerhouse, as opposed to looking a little bit leaner in the newer version. I like the neck piece, and I think the armor just has more definition in the old version in general. But I do like the improvements in this larger one, and I think you've done a lot of improvements on the anatomy of this blue maned pony as well.
That's crazy. The blue maned pony is so much better.
Just like zooming in to see the differences.
Such a glow up, as they say.
I love seeing like artists just go back and improve their stuff. It's so good. So I feel like the balancing of this mare's face could still use a little bit of improvement. If you don't sort of like what I think, you don't have to agree with me. But it's just a case of looking at how the face is balanced. I see you're doing a painterly style, so it can be hard to define things in the same way that we would define stuff with cartoony lines. I'm just going to pretend this fade later on. There we go. So it's just a matter of balancing these eyes because they're actually a bit off. We've got sort of a fisheye lens effect going on where like the eyes are sort of disappearing, and we don't want to have that. They should be equal. They should be eyes on the offside of the face should always be equal vertically, but just shorter horizontally. Whereas it looks like you've sort of taken it. I don't necessarily mean that this is exactly what you've done, but it looks like you've copied and pasted and flipped it around, which can be a very good way of escaping the battle of symmetry. But it's always good to at least try to get it to try and get a handle on it manually before you start going into the flippings. I'm really terrible at doing this kind of eye shape, so you'll have to forgive me for it being terrible. Pretend that this is more like what you originally drew. So yeah,
that's
just a matter of balancing the face. So then the face, so the head, actually the ear I feel should be maybe like a little bit further over like this. The head is going then like this, maybe a little bit higher up. And it's coming down, and then we've got like the eye sockets here, and then it's coming back out for the cheek, and around to the chin, like if we were doing like a super sort of anthropomorphic style, which this is anthropomorphic, so. And then the mouth can really stay kind of where it is. You've got a good mouth position if we go for this new, if we show the cheek and chin having some depth to them in there. So that sort of keeps the head like following the 3D perspective. It's not perfect. I'm not very good at like more humanoid-ish faces, but I hope it's at least something that can help you.
Yeah, I'm just pushing the contrast a little bit underneath the cape hood thing, making that pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
With this the trailing stuff here around the corners of the hood, you've got really nice tiny, like small textures from the brush, but it'd be cool to see a little bit more medium texture, like, you know, think about the way that the forms are twisting and shifting and sort of make it a little bit more interesting to look at. And then do you like brushes and the tiny forms in there?
Something I'm just doing right now, I'd say right now, Sombra's armor feels very dull, like it's almost a t-shirt consistency. Now what
Yeah.
I'm doing isn't the cleanest or probably the most correct, but I would get some more shine going in there, more lights. The whole piece feels like it's
Absolutely.
lacking like hard lighting. You have the shadows, but you don't really have any. You don't necessarily need hard lighting. Let me correct myself there. But you don't necessarily have a concentrated light source of any kind. It just feels like diffuse, like fluorescent lights you'd find in a giant warehouse or a
Mm.
cafeteria, or just
I,
very diffuse. Kind of
mm.
has nothing
I
going on.
definitely, I definitely think that the original design, where you had a lot more definition in the armor, fits more than this. Like Ali said, very diffused look. Like everything, especially if you look at the neck piece, because firstly, it flows with the neck. This is a terrible color to be drawing with this. It flows with the neck like so exactly, whereas in the original it would sort of look more like this, and everything should be hard to see because of nameplates. Uh, it's everything. It is separate objects of armor that are sat on top of one another. So I definitely agree. Like if you look at how you've drawn this originally, there's almost no outline separating the neck piece here or the chest piece from the shoulder piece. Like absolutely make it thicker. Make the armor pieces like look more distinct from one another, because there is definitely a time in sort of painterly and lineless styles to make everything look like smooth and blending, and definitely to like I can understand you wanting to stay away from it's lineless, so I can't have any lines at all, but you can. And I think that there is a time and a place to have things look soft and blended together, and that time is not rough, hard edged, structured metallic pieces of armor. And like Ali said, just like boost those shadows, boost those shines, because if you look at a piece of metal, it's going to have like all kinds of dramatic contrast shifts from the lighting direction. Oh yeah, like lots of
Like
little bits of flecks of light. I love that.
Yeah, you can see the hard shifts on like this whole section of the face, and it looks really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Something that Maze mentioned was the proportions of the two ponies. Like you've got the head to the waist on her here, and then you've got like the head to the waist on Sombra. And the thing is that because Sombra is like a lot taller, all the bits of him are going to be taller, including the legs. Whereas because these two, the waists basically line up, they're going to have like the same length legs, and it kind of looks a little bit strange for Sombra. For Sombra, because his legs are going to look like way too short.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that can just be like helped by just like when you're sketching it out, very very rough stage. You're just trying to work out the shapes of things. Just like do the whole body and make sure that it all makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Because you can always go back and crop it out later. I know
Exactly.
we always encourage people to draw what you can't see, because that's the best way to know how it actually works, instead of just
Yes.
guessing, oh, I guess this hoof will come out this way, or I guess. But don't be afraid. I know it's hard, and we all do it sometimes, but don't be afraid to draw the full thing, even if you're going to crop it later.
Yeah. And one little point I have is it's more of a design thing, but it could probably be circumvented with some creative use of colors, shading, overlays, and such. And that's that the pony's blue mane stands out so much value-wise from everything else. Like if I were to put this into grayscale, you would see exactly what I mean. But even without that, you can tell it's like so drastically contrasting the background and from Sombra's mane that it stands out almost to the point where it looks like it's glowing. And so it can be tricky to make that stuff fit, but there are definitely things you can do with the colors to help it blend a little bit better, and shading and such. So use some gradients over the top to help things blend a little bit better. I typically will try this tactic as well. Like if you got a character's mane and like one part is like drifting over something where the values clash, you can try putting like a little bit of a gradient over that part to sort of have it fade towards a darker or lighter color over that part to help it pop more. And the same can go for the background as well, twisting parts of the background to help things pop. Not necessarily this one, because I think the value of the background here is pretty on point with everything for the most part. But it's just a matter of colors that jump out. And given that she's got a very sort of dark grey mane, she's naturally going to have her mane look like it's glowing just off of her own color scheme, I think.
With color, with coloring and like modifying colors so that they match the light that's around them. Like what I tend to do is I tend to take the original color. Like I've taken the color of this cape, this red cape, and then I've looked at my color wheel down there, and the closest way that I can get back to this blue is through the pink section. So I'll take this red, and then I'll drag the color wheel down a bit towards the blue section, and then try adding some of that color and seeing how it looks. And it kind of, but because when you're recoloring things to like take into account the light bouncing, you don't tend to want to just like, oh, let's just add some of this blue to here directly, because it doesn't really like look realistic or like it's actually modifying the original color that's there. So take the original color, modify it by like dragging it down towards the color light that you're doing, and then do that. It's like if I've got this blue hair up here and I've got some like bright yellow lights on it, like they're out in the sun or something, I'll take this blue, I'll drag it up a little bit closer to the green, and then I'll do something like that. And then, you know, it's not yellow that's on there, but it kind of looks like yellow light is bouncing on there. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely love that tip. That is such a good tip, because bounce light is always, it's a big topic, and that just, I love how it simplifies that, because it just, you have your tool, the color wheel, and you use it to figure things out, and I love it. Great, I love that tip. I'm gonna use that.
I think I picked it up by looking at Kane Kale stuff. He does some like really awesome art stuff, especially when it comes to colors. That is KNKL. I think used to be an artist for Blizzard and that sort of stuff.
Ah.
All right then. Anyone else have any other points? Oh, I like what you're doing with the armor there, Ali. Very nice.
Yeah, I was just going back to what you were saying, that lineless may not have lines, but they're still edges. So these lines sort of act as edges.
Yeah. I think that any armor plate will look much better with highly defined shadows and edges, just to really separate those plates and make it look intimidating and cool. So yeah, I hope you do some more experimentation. It's great seeing you like redraw an old piece. I haven't done that in the longest time, and I wanted to do a lot of that this year. Because when I found I did do it in the past, I went back and redrew things, and I always found it was so like, when I drew this, I knew it wasn't perfect, but I couldn't understand any of how it was wrong. And now I've gone back, I can easily see how the old picture needed to be improved and where I went wrong and how I've improved from there. But also how I can now see more of how I can improve in this picture that I just drew, because of the sort of perspective of comparing it with the old one. I can now say, oh, you know, I've improved this, but I can improve it more. So it's definitely a good idea when you've done a picture like this, a redraw. One of the things is how have I improved since the last one, but then also it's a good way to sort of springboard off of what you've drawn now to how you can improve in the future. So I definitely appreciate you showing this to us and letting us have a look at it. And I hope you do some experimenting and look at other people's art and try doing some more awesome stuff.
It'd be really cool to see next year, to see you redraw this again. I love when people do that. Every year they redraw the same drawing. So cool. Keep up the good work, though,
really
honestly.
Cool. Alrighty then, we're gonna move on. If anyone else has any other pictures they want us to look at, then feel free to start sending those to us at our faces with high-speed velocity cannons.
I don't want to die.
Send it to us via pony mail then. There you go.
Pigeon. Send me a pigeon.
Race a pony and a pigeon and see who gets here first.
Alright, so this is our final one for the night, unless someone has more to submit. This is by Theotic Finch. I drew this for a friend. Their name is Enthanasia. I'm not good at names. I apologize for butchering that. What do you guys think of it? And there are no further comments.
Interesting. I love like the headpiece and like the floating spectral bone horn. Like the magic literally looks like glitter glue. It's cool. And I love you got like the same like speckles over the pony as well. It's very nice.
I'm just gonna say it. Horse. I love seeing people do horsey stuff with
Yes.
MLP. It's like it's almost refreshing. I don't think cartoons are bad or anything. If I love them with all my heart, it's just refreshing to see people like do more realistic like
It's
turns
good
and
to
like
see
adaptions and
experimentation.
stuff. Yeah.
Because like MLP is a stylized thing, so it's interesting to see someone taking the ideas of that stylization and like reapplying them to life in a different way. I like the color, the use of like a colored outline that's like different from the base. I do think the orange sort of clashes tone wise and color wise with it a lot. It's really hard to distinguish like where the actual lines are. I would say like try and go for an even lighter color, and don't be afraid to change the color in some spaces where it's like you've done that around here, like all the white parts here have a different outline. I think that blends very well. It's just a case of like maybe this should be as well, and then like you can make these parts like an even lighter orange to make it stand out a bit more. I like it sort of makes it look very ethereal. It's just a case of from a mechanical standpoint, it's hard to distinguish the actual form of the character with it.
I agree. I very much agree.
With this horn, it's kind of similar to like the comment that I made earlier. You've got on the last picture, you've got a lot of really small detail here from your brush, but what can really help it pop is having a bit more like larger detail, like have these kind of larger shapes that like are sort of defining where the smaller detail is placed, and so it might just help it like feel a little bit more like interesting magic-y stuff.
Yes. It's always worth experimenting, and like the magic style of ponies can be so fun to experiment with. I think going for like an energy blob like that can be very helpful, very fun to play around with.
Now, I don't know if it's me, but the tail just seems slightly off. I think it's just a little too thick here. I almost want to like scooch it up the back a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Just a little bit, and it's just a smidgen too thick. Like it can still be pretty thick because it's kind of. I mean, unicorn tails can be. I can't think of the word. Interpreted. Thank you, myself. I'm thinking myself. Anyway, unicorn tails can be interpreted many different ways. It's a mythical thing. Okay, I can talk today. I promise. Last picture. I can do this. But yeah, I think I just want to edge it up just a little bit. It just felt like it was encroaching too much on the butt territory.
Yeah, and I would even say sort of like keep it quite thin until like the sort of like last part here, and then have it like bloom into this big beautiful fluff. Maybe not quite like that. It's because of the direction of like how it's moving. It's going to make it hard to show the shape in sort of a coherent way. But there we go. But yeah, I definitely like having some more thicker fluff around this part, but then sort of having it thin out as it goes towards the actual tail. But it's up to you to do some experimentation and see what you like.
Yeah. One thing from Maze, the two raccoops here, they show different amounts of this, and so I just evened that out a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yes.
The only other thing that stands out to me, and it's not. It's just this blob of shading right here. If that's shading or if that's coat color, it feels like shading because it's similar to the other shaded spots I see. It's not quite either. I know what you're going for, but I feel like since you have this white tummy so bright, it almost just feels like, why is this splotch of dirt
It makes
here?
this is what the body is doing. If this is the white underbelly, and then you've got this like this blob of shading right here, and then like the undershade, which is the point. The body should just be circle. for the most part, anyway. Not exactly that, but you get the point.
I just feel like it would be more beneficial to follow through all the way across if you want to get that area shaded a bit. It's under
Shading is super hard and weird to
yes,
get.
it is. I struggle with body shade, especially around like how does the thigh play into that? Like, it's a struggle.
Especially
I have a little I was just gonna say I have a little horse figurine thing, and what I like to do is I like to get my phone, turn my phone flashlight on, go into a bit of a dark room, and then just like move it around and try to see which areas are lit up, which areas are in shadow, and then like I can use that as reference when I'm like actually doing the shading to sort of see where shadows should fall.
I like it.
So you go make your art into a 3D model, and then 3D print the pony, and then put it in front of you, and then paint it.
Brilliant, I love it.
Huffy says invest in pony statuettes, yeah.
I can claim it's for research.
Yeah, exactly.
Its research has always been the best excuse to be able to have, and the best thing that comes out of being an artist.
The only thing I can suggest to level up your art is to have the fluffs kind of like I drew over your hair right here. Right now you kind of have all the same lengths of tufts of fluff that come off the hair. I'll just quick... Oh, that's not the eraser. I'll quick erase what I did. Yeah, so we have like little fluff, medium fluff, medium fluff, medium fluff. See, you look at horses' hair, and while we don't encourage just constantly do spaghetti strings and draw every single one of the long flowing hairs, what you can do is show influences of those long hairs by kind of differentiating the lengths of the fluff. So you can keep these little small fluff tufts up top, but then when you come down here, you could have maybe one come a little bit more inward, and then maybe like a medium one, and back out again. And oh, we have this little clump over here, so I'm gonna make that a little bit longer. And there's like a little short guy here. There's things you can do to play with it to make the hair feel more long and flowy, because usually when you just have short, constantly around the same size fluff, that shows a very words I can't. They're all the same size, so it's like if you were petting a dog, how all their hair is the same size along their back, that kind of a feeling. It's more stiff. It's not so much flowy and long like hair, like a hairdo, like horse's hair. It's different. It's like fur versus hair. That's what I want to say. Fur versus the raccoon sleeping on the horse. I just saw. But yeah,
said it before I could post it.
I think that's the point I want to catch across. So like you have all these short hairs here, but you have the same type of short hairs up here. So to differentiate the fur from the hair itself.
Yes. Oops. No, I did not want to move that. I moved the entire screen. There we go. It's back. Oh, but now I've lost the... There we go.
I think your art's in a...
messing up the stuff, don't worry.
Your art's in a really interesting, cool sort of place.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
Just try different exercises and see. At the moment, like I know that for me, gesture sketching and doing that sort of stuff, being quick, helps me learn a fair bit. And at the moment, I'm trying a bit of sculpting, and that's helping a fair bit. And now that you're sort of at this kind of a stage, just experiment with different exercises and see what is fun and helps you learn.
Yeah. Like I said before, I really do enjoy, like, we don't get a lot of people who do a more horsey style, and I really do enjoy seeing it when we get it on stream. So it's really, you got some really nice stuff going here.
Yeah, I definitely think white makes a good outline if you just, because you got some white outlines. It's going back to what I was saying earlier. On some parts, you could just go for just white all the way across, and I think it looks nice. Yeah. So if that's everything, unless anyone, I know Huffy was talking about.
I'm just catching up with that now. We have from Embroidered again, and yeah. Did Huffy get theirs posted?
No,
oh no,
not yet.
So if you want to, we're happy to. If not, totally understand. But we got embroidered to do.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah,
me just
embroidered.
get it.
Let's see this pony.
I got a piece.
I wonder if it's the one they drew today.
Oh, hold on, I gotta save it because it's transparent. But I want to be lazy and just copy paste it.
Copy pasting ponies.
Do 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 do. Paste from file.
Here we go. I think you can just drag them from like your folder into the program if it's from your file.
Mm.
I just need to find it. I threw it in one of my MISC folders. That was probably a bad decision.
Yeah. Huffy's thing in the voice chat channel.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Coolio.
Aha, there we are. Alright. We can start with embroidered and I'll grab Huffy's.
It is the one from today. So what crazy random thing have they ponified today? See, we normally have Living Dead doing the stream, and then he'll like paste the pictures in so everyone sees him actually doing that. But since I'm hosting and Ali's doing the stream, they get to see how it looks like you're drawing in the thing. We often made jokes about that in like before the stream starts, about how like LD can draw so fast. But yeah, now Ali's on with the speedy draws.
Wow. So embroidered says they're still working on the shading for this, so they won't critique for the shading.
Mm.
Okay. I am curious about what this is, though. I know she likes to ponify random things. So shading. Firstly, I love that you've gone for like a color. Got this nice blue shading over here. It's super good. Rather than just going for like the typical. It's like they got a white body, so they could go for like a grey shadow. But no, you've gone for color, and I think that works really well for the body. It's just a case of balancing that. I think I see you've gone for also a sort of blue shade around the mane. Which I think does sort of work. It also might be worth experimenting with doing a warmer shade for the mane, just to sort of contrast the two colours. It's always worth sort of trying these things and seeing if that works better. I can't. If this program had like hue layers, I would be able to do that, but it does not. No, Huffy. No. Hi, I'm Hugh Layers.
I like that the shading is different colors on different parts of the body and stuff. And especially like different between the mane and the body and that sort of stuff.
People are saying in the chat that some of the parts of the shading where it's really harsh are bothering them, like on the leg here and on the tail. I actually have the color picked from your back leg, so it's a really awkward one to use. So there we go. Like where they're really harsh here. I actually quite like those though. I think they have a really distinct style to having like this kind of sharper. It's almost like mixing like cell shading with other parts. Sort of reminds me of some like video games and such.
I think, I mean, it could just be me, but I'm actually having trouble pinpointing the main source of light. I understand we have different glowing parts of the body, like the horn and the green wing, and there's also this red wing. But the main white light, I'm a little confused on where it's coming from. And I think that can be fixed with just some more, like what Pixie's doing there. Like that leg could be more in darkness if... hold on. So what I'm picturing currently, if I can demonstrate it in a visual form, is the light is coming from this direction. Like
something like that.
Like coming from the back?
I feel like it's coming from the front actually. If we look at
spot on.
if you look at like here and like the body and mane, it just looks like it's coming not straight onwards to her, but like from like our perspective almost, but like to the left. If you look at how it's hitting the body, and especially because this leg is in shadow.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
No,
I think
yeah, I can
there's-
see that now. I think I was just getting thrown off by all the shadow here then. There's so much shadow going on
Yes.
here if it's being hit by the front.
I think that might be what you're getting confused. Yeah. It's very hard to work with like shadows like this. I think I don't know if you do this already, but what can be really helpful is instead of painting shadow, is to paint the light. So you can start in shadow and then paint the light areas on, and that can really help to define like exactly where the light is hitting, as opposed to defining where the shadows are falling.
I have like a few sketchbook pages just like dedicated to drawing shadows and being like,
'Cause the
you know.
the light on the main is coming directly from above. That might be where the confusion is coming from.
Yeah. And there can be two light sources. It's just to keep
Yes.
it consistent with the entire thing. Because we have
And-
such a strong light and we have all the other glowing bits that are
Yeah.
also interfering lights. There's just a lot of lights going on.
And if there
And
are
there
two
isn't
light
much-
sources going on, I feel like that should only really be reserved for if you've actually got a scene and we can physically see two light sources. Like, okay, there's ponies standing in front of a fireplace. There's also a lantern up to the top above them, and okay, so there's two light sources, and they have two different kinds of light that are casting two different colors of light. So there's lots to work with there. But if you just got a pony going standalone, unless these are physically the light source and you're working different highlights in based off of those, we're just seeing a pony standing here with light being cast on her from somewhere, and different parts of the body are giving us different directions of the light. Like I'd say even this back leg is showing us like from this direction, and the front is showing us from a different direction. The mane and ear are showing us from a different direction. So there's like three going on, and it really doesn't need to be for a standing pony. And it's an easy mistake to make. Like it's something that's easy to forget about and just get lost in throwing shadow on, but just it is something worth paying attention to.
Yeah, like I think the shadow colors you've got are really cool. It's just a case of maybe it'd be cool to like practice like where shadows fall on different like sorts of objects.
And you've really given yourself a
Pixie's drawing
challenge
down
with
here.
so many different light sources happening right now. So this is definitely an undertaking, and I mean, it's even would be confusing to me. I'd really need to sit down and analyze everything. But I mean, you've taken on a difficult subject, and it does look really good so far. I like the colors you're using, and you're keeping in mind that, you know, bounce light and all that. It's just keeping it consistent, and I think that if I could give a tip, you've got harder lines. I know we've talked about that before. That before you were just using really soft shadows. Now you have some harder lines. I would just go into a little bit more detail and texture into your shading, because right now we just have straight line or foggy line. Like what I did over here in the hair, there's like actual bits of strands going on, and even down here at this hoof, let me just get the color. This hoof down here, you could have, you know, some of those flecks of fur kind of going in. It doesn't have to be just kind of like a blur. It can have some of the little fur bits kind of intruding on the shadow, because usually with that contrast, we'll see a bit of fluff. But stuff like that can really help, as well as get this one. This line back here can have a little shape to it, so it's not just like a hard line through the leg. Just some organic shapes to your shadows, some organic textures, stuff that really help push that 3D feel.
I have to say, this whole eye, I absolutely love the gradient there. It is like the favorite gradient that I've ever seen.
I was gonna ask why is her eye broken, and does she have like an Airwick perfume dispenser on her cheek? Or those gills? I don't really know. Your designs are always so creative and interesting. It looks like her cheek is making the world smell nice, and her eye has been punched.
With the
or a spider has made a home over it.
with these little things that I've done down here, it's mostly just like trying to see how. Sorry, my mind is completely blank. It's too early in the morning. Like how the shadows look different from different angles when like the
Different light
light is
sources,
placed in different
angles, yeah.
places. Yeah, and so doing stuff like this is I find it really fun.
It's a really good experiment just to sort of help you figure out like how shadows are cast in different ways.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find it really helpful if you're having particular trouble with a part you're like shading or something, you just turn off your shadow layer that you're working on so far, create a new layer, and just do that part by itself. Because sometimes you can get caught up in all your other shadows that you just need to concentrate on the form of the thing you're trying to shade at the moment. So you don't like think, well, wait, I have a shadow here. Would that clash? Well, it's like, what would that object do? You have to think about what would it do in real life? What would the form cast? Because sometimes you will have weird overlaps and sometimes you need to play with them, but I know it can get easy to get caught up, especially with so many different light sources. So like you can just concentrate a little bit at a time if you need to.
Yes. I shouldn't seem like how again.
See
Ooh,
how each individual how each individual like form responds to shadow, and then think about like how the cast shadows work. So like this, like if the light is coming from up here, this casts on here, makes some weird stuff. This main might cast a little bit more back here on this back part of the main. Might cast a little bit back on here. This is cast a little bit down there, and just work through it slowly.
I think going for more like cell shaded sort of ideas, like some of the like you got gradients and you've also got like nice like sharp lines. I think that's actually a really good, interesting style, especially where this like shadow here is like blends into like the like sort of like a highlight around the wing. Like it's a really interesting stylistic approach, combining like cell shading and gradients, and sometimes softening the cell shading could work really well for you, I think. Just worth doing some experimenting for.
It's so cool seeing you improve and seeing the stuff that you've been working on lately.
And I can't wait to see more crazy stuff because I know you're always cooking up something. Always excited to see, like that bread pony. They designed a bread pony the other week, and I was like, I know the perfect thing to suggest. I was so excited about it too.
I saw you commenting as well.
Really cute. Bread's great, so deserves a pony.
Yeah, I think that's like been a subject of the fandom, plus like bread and toast ponies and whatnot. I remember someone having a bacon pony once. I used to follow on DeviantArt.
No. I like Huffy's comment. Seeing all the various sketching over makes me think of a doodle pit crew. Yep, just.
Yep.
In and out, 20 seconds.
Oh god. Extreme critique stream.
We're just all rambling over each other really loudly and frantically at the same time, while scribbling with all our might. Disaster. Okay, so anyone else have any other points?
No, I'm just having fun with the hair because it's a really cute pony, so I'm playing with it.
Keep experimenting. Keep trying out stuff.
Yeah. You keep pushing yourself so hard. Maybe an easy pony with lighting. Try that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I like how you do your shapes, and like what I've done a little bit up here with the ear, and what like Fluffy's done down here with the muzzle. They're just like different shapes you can try out to like mess around with.
They're in the chat, and I'm just reading back to see if at any point they answered me as to wondering, with all the curiosity in my heart, what this pony is representation of.
You'll have to ping them in chat.
Yeah, I will find out.
For now, we can move over to a Huffy Lime, and if they have any questions, please throw them at our faces via carrier pigeon.
Yep. The pigeon route is where we're at today.
Leggies.
Yeah, I struggle with
Leggaroonies.
Okay, so I think this disappearing point leg here is probably where I sort of noticed first. Legs are a challenge. I appreciate you've got the sort of the bend of the body here. I think we could sort of stretch that a little bit even further over really push that the thigh is sort of behind the leg. This feels nasty. I'm gonna shade. Shade layer is on. This okay. This has been posted on sketch layer. So I'm gonna move.
Oh, my bad.
Silly Alley.
Just a comment from Embroidered. The phone is just my phone, which has a completely smashed screen.
Oh no, that's why it's smashed.
I can see it. Yeah.
Totally.
Aw. Okay, so given you have these lovely like pudgy hooves, I think this hoof would actually be just like covering the leg somewhat. What I'm doing might not be accurate at all. So if anyone else wants to, I've seen you do this pose before, so I'm not sure if like how much do you want to have the hooves like together like this, and how much do you just not? Are you just like not sure of how to do them sort of in a laying position? If you actually want them to be sort of placed together like this, then that's absolutely fine. I think you have a very drastic proportion style. So if that's like something that you think you're struggling with, you can always try experimenting with different styles and try to like lessening the extent to which you have these like huge, powerful monster hooves. Okay, so
If I remember correctly, I believe they were doing a
nice.
very elongated viewpoint. Like, you're really close up to her hooves and face, and the body kind of stretches back. So it's like, that's why they're so huge. I did it. I remembered something.
Laggies. No, laggies.
Perspective is really hard, especially extreme perspective with like very organic shapes. The best thing you can do for that is to take pictures of things in weird perspectives. I know it's like it's hard to do, but even if you have like a pony toy, do one of those really weird, like just go real close with your camera and just snap a picture. That's what I've found, especially with organic shapes. You can sometimes get away with like photoshopping pictures you see that you can throw like fisheye lens stuff on them, or I forget the filters. But perspective's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. I love your sort of experimenting with expressions and trying out like it's grr expression.
Yeah, expressions are so interesting. I love messing around with like expression sheets and trying to see how other artists draw expressions and that sort of stuff. Which bits of the face they push and pull and all that sort of thing. It's so fun.
Yeah, I'm just experimenting at the side here to sort of look at doodling what you've sort of been going for. Ooh. Yeah, I feel like the eyes need. I was trying to go for a little bit more like what you had been trying to, but let's really like exaggerate that. Because her eyes are pretty relaxed in your drawing, so it's about like bending and stretching, like Huffy just mentioned, like Pixie just mentioned. Ooh.
You're the same person.
Conspiracy.
Dun dun dun.
Huffy is just everyone. He's already like taken over. He's LD, and now he's Pixie. Let's move to Cyrus. Ooh.
So I think something that could really help if you want to push perspective is something to keep in mind is you don't need to show everything. Like that back hoof there, if you really want to push the perspective, you don't need to show the full idea of that back hoof. And what I mean by that is trying to think, I'm trying to be on screen. So I have the head here and the body, so I need a little too many undos.
I feel like this is an awkward laying position for a pony to be in. You naturally want to draw them like resting on their hooves.
And like the other hard part is, since we're trying to push perspective here, it's like things get way blown out of proportion. So like this is the size of their head and their hooves are the size of their head, but because of the proportion, it's like
It'd be interesting to see them with this kind of a pose, like resting on like a nice, cute, fluffy pillow, and then just like looking the angriest that they've ever looked.
So I don't feel like this sitting pose is natural. I'm struggling to like get the posing to look right.
I don't know. I almost just wanted to like end at the hoof. I need to see. My problem now is I'm sketching too small. I need to get bigger.
Yeah, the picture was pasted kind of small, so it's kind of hard not to shrink down with it.
It's what I was given, okay?
Got to draw bigger, Huffy. Give us monster art.
Yeah. It's a hard pose, especially like because I really want to do that extreme perspective. Like that's what I want to fight for right now. Is that crazy like?
Ah, so she's doing like the evil Robin hands together, I think. Right, see, she looked angry to me, but like that's just limestone always looks angry. If it is more of a grin, evil grin, I can like take what I've done with my eyes. Hee hee. So you definitely want to have that like stretch, like hee hee, like, super exaggerated stretch position. Like, yeah. Evil grin, maybe not quite.
So what you need to look at, and I'm being so honest right now, is macro artists and micro artists if you want to do extreme perspective. Yes, it's a fetish. Who cares? It's all good art. Like
that's a good reference point.
Honestly, as long as you're of age, I know you are, but like in general to people, if you're of age, don't discount any type of art for whatever it is unless it's like harmful to other people. Everything is a resource. Everything.
Yeah, it's very, very good in perspective, and also just like showing, like if you look at like what's his name? He was in the MLPDS, just all the giant bones. I'm forgetting the name for some reason.
I know who you're talking about, but I cannot remember his name.
Why have we forgotten? It's been erased from.
They draw ponies as like battleships and stuff.
Yeah, but like just being the ability to show that a character is really big or like really far away, whatever it is, with like minute details is such a skill. NC Mares.
NC Mares, yeah, that's it.
I really like them. We forgetting the name.
I know I'm really far away from you, Fluffy, but if you want to show what I'm drawing.
You moved away on the oh yeah, here we go. I did not see you over there. Oh, look at that. Evil face. I always want these pupils to be like white and staring at me like, oh.
Exactly. Like, I'm trying to have like that really tiny, like stare down at you feel.
I can see that.
So was she doing like the like evil expression, or was she meant to be more like angry? Don't touch my boulder. Because this is a really good idea of what you're doing, Ellie. Extreme perspective. Great, Pixie. Wonderful.
That's the limits of my artistic ability. Thank you.
Oh, okay, so like you're about to fight somebody, so.
Right, so it's like a fighty expression.
Now the real hard part from the angle I've chosen is to get the God, it's so weird to work in a really warped perspective. Like you keep wanting to like do normal proportions, like, oh no wait, I have to like stretch this.
And see, it might be a case of like if you're trying to replicate like a human thing, like maybe like the smacking the fist into the palm thing, or like something like that. Like sometimes it's worth noting that like trying to replicate stuff with hooves is not very clear, and you never know if like a pony's trying to give like a wave, a high hoof, or a Hitler salute. Like like sometimes it can be hard, and it's a case of like figuring out ways to show with like pony forms in anatomy, like ways to express what it is that they're trying to express. So if it's meant to be like a threatening, intimidating thing, like how would a pony who has lived their entire life being a pony on four hooves show such a thing? There's a creative approach to sort of thinking about how to structure stuff.
It might have started off a bit like a little thing, but like actually like doing when you're trying like expressions, trying to like simplify them down to their most basic
Yeah.
forms, like the least number of lines,
Like
that sort of stuff can be like really helpful. Yeah.
Try different things.
Try different things.
There's so many things. So many things I want to try, and we could just... I don't even know if we're helping you right now.
See, what,
We're
what
just
I-
drawing what you
what
were
Ali
doing.
is doing here is what I was gonna mention as well. Is I don't know how much stuff like under sketching construction you do, but I think definitely focusing on learning how to like appropriately structure like the skeleton and build up the anatomy that way. Like you saw me doing when I was sketching, like just trying to figure out like the body and everything next to yours. But it can really super duper help to figure out like how things are placed and how things are proportioned. Rather than like going into it and trying to figure out how stuff like is meant to go blindly, like figuring stuff out like that in a more structured environment can help a lot.
Maze is too good at like pulling up references that are good. Yeah, there's always lots of stuff to work on, but it's always just like working out which bits to focus on at the moment.
I mean, I now want to figure out how to do like a really extreme perspective now. Because like I'm struggling. This is hard. I have no idea how I want to. Because I think my problem is I have too much of a front on the glowy eyes. But personally, I feel like I did too much of a front-facing perspective because that's like the easiest thing to force.
Yeah.
I just want to figure it out.
I know that at the moment I need to really like push my expressions because those that's something I'm really struggling with at the moment, and I need to like get it down and understand how it works.
But see, there's lots of different approaches you can take towards making something. So like you saw Ali took like a completely different like approach to the idea, and just it's always worth like just like maybe take what you've done, put it away, put it aside for a second, and then just try like really quickly just to experiment with like a different angle, a different perspective. Try to go about it a different way. Start from a different point. Start with like a simplified expression and go from there. Like however you might want to experiment, just quick doodles to try and figure stuff out, and it can really help you get your mind around stuff.
What Ali's doing down there is really interesting.
Oh, Ali's doing more.
I have no idea what I'm doing, so don't ask me to explain it.
Ali, explain yourself.
I don't know. See, I'm one of those artists that can't explain everything because it's just like, I don't know, I'm feeling it now.
Yeah, no, same here. I definitely work better that way. And then you get like the awkward like conversations in when you're like drawing in public, and then your parents are like why do they have soulless eyes? Oh, why are they naked? And it's like,
oh god, I got that all the time in high school. Why are you drawing naked?
So
people?
much. Like I got that in school. I got it in college. It's like oh, you drawing naked people. It's like no, I'm getting the form. I technically haven't drawn their body yet. It's just like the shape of their body, and then there will be clothes on top of it, as opposed to naked skin. Yeah, I remember my mum once being like, where's like, oh, this character's so scary. They have like big soulless eyes. It's like it's because I just like sketched the face and I haven't like I've drawn the irises and I haven't done any like pupils or shine or anything. Excuse me.
Excuse you.
Maze says all the pros draw clothes first.
So you know what I think is, I have a comment on like the pose. So you've got this like lying down, the hooves like clasped together, and she's supposed to be like fighty. Well, I think if you take off the face, I'm actually going to go up here. I'm going to go up to your original sketch and leave Ali to do whatever on earth she is doing.
I don't know myself, so it's fine.
If you just rub out her limestoney face, what do you think this picture is? If you just come into this picture and look at this, like if I said draw the face, like what would you think she was doing in this perspective? Because I would say that she is like looking happy. I would say that she is, well, as content as limestone can be. I would think that she's sitting here. Oh no, I was about to draw her face. And she's just like, hey, what you're looking at me, like whatever. I think she's just like sitting in this position contently, because she's in like this laying down position. Like I don't think the leg is exactly meant to be. I think it's sort of like propped up at the back. Like the back end is like raised, not exactly how I did it. If I'm looking at your original drawing again, but it's definitely like the fact that she's laying down on these front legs and trying to. Oh, I look back at Ali's. It's like really scary. Like if she's laying down at this position. It's like, why would she be laying down if she's about to get into a fight? That's what you sort of said, right? It's like meant to be like more like a growly, fighty type thing. So if that's the case, I don't know if there's like a story here. Like if she was laying down, then someone said they were gonna run out and touch Holder's boulder, and she's just like, "Don't you dare!" But like, I don't know if that's the case, or if she is sort of getting all like worked up and like fighty and stuff, in which case you'd expect her to be in a more animated position. So again, it goes back to like imagining the scene and imagining this is a pony. She's like standing there on her pony hooves, and then some pony said, I know a better rock than Holder's boulder, and then she's like, oh yeah mate, and she's getting in a fighting mood. So like, what is her stance going to be? What's her body going to be doing? Like it's a case of telling the story and telling the scene from the ground up, and figuring out like the best way to see like what Pixie is drawing over here. That's a very like fighty, like, oh, I'm gonna come at you kind of pose.
I'll come at you. You what?
You what?
My dropper client keeps leaving these ghosts of Ali.
Spooky.
And I'm sorry, I have to make these eyes all glowy as well, because
Please do.
they have to look all evil. It's so scary. Like the way you draw like this pose is just frightening to me. Just like the face is looking over with this like demonic like.
Like I feel like the more perspective I want to
Excuse
push,
me?
the more insane I want to make the face. Like I can't just have like
Right?
a normal face with a crazy perspective. Like I need to push it all.
Just turn like the head turning, and it's like that stylized like anime, just like you're seeing it in like this like demonic way to show the character's scary. In the same way they use chibis to show characters doing something silly and cute.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of like references you can do. There's what May suggests is a good example. It looks a lot in my memory like what Pixie is drawing here. There's love the face as well. There's lots of different ways you can interpret a scene or a pose. So just, get creative with it. I'd love to see what you're gonna make.
I think I know what my problem is. I made her head too big. Wait, how do I?
That
Oh, there's the
perspective.
lasso.
You'll make it look like Ursula in The Little Mermaid when at the last scene where she's just like, "Hurrah!"
See, now I'm just having fun with it. Like,
FYI, that scene
oh yeah, that's more intimidating.
scared the bejeebus out of me when I was a kid. The giant evil Ursula.
Yeah, with the creativity stuff, Huffy, I think your best friend is just references, just like looking at both the real horses at the show, at other artists, and like the ability to like just pop out a pose like Ali's done, or like I've done, or like Zai's done. That's just because we've sort of built up.
So it seems very daunting. It's like, how can I ever, like, I can't do this right now. I can't understand how to just like do that and like be creative and whatever. So so your brain sort of interprets that as like, I don't know how these people do it, otherwise I would be able to do it, therefore I don't know how it's even possible, and I don't think I ever will. It's very daunting that way, because that's naturally how the thought process goes. But it's just a case of give it time, experiment, have fun, don't like try to prove anything, don't force anything to succeed, just like experiment and let it happen, let it succeed, let it fail, and just like try looking at things, try different things. And that's just honestly the best thing that you can do for yourself, to just try, experiment, let things fail, let things work, and don't get like heartbroken or anything over stuff not working, because like that's good, that's making progress, that's what you want to be doing. And like you will get to a point I absolutely promise, where you can understand things in a much more creative aspect, and you can like knock out poses super quickly, and everything that you feel like you can't understand how it will ever be possible to do, you will be able to do. It just takes time.
Mm-hmm. And it'll probably take a fair bit of time. It's like learning to do something like drawing is like, you know, over the weeks and over the months and over the years, you'll slowly get better.
Mace is another good suggestion for possible references. The comics, they're very good.
Yes.
Yeah. So, do you have any other questions for us, Huffy?
I really like this
Ooh.
pose I did.
Thank you. I like that because they're in the channel, I can just respond in the chat immediately. Like before anyone else watching the stream
I know.
even hears us ask the question, Huffy has been like back in time and answered the question because they're a time traveler.
Technically, I'm here. But...
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. But like to people watching the stream, they're just like, "Why did Huffy just say that?" And then the stream catches up. It's like, Pixie.
I've drawn an entirely appropriate pose.
See, that's he's answering my question.
That's pretty good.
So, if anyone else has any art to throw at our faces, this is a nightmarish expression.
I know.
I don't know what's more scary, what Pixie just drew, or like stuff that's going on with the eyes. Look at that.
End us all, please.
Oh my god, you're making it worse. In like 5 seconds, Pixie's made something way scarier and like he's like evil-eyed. Okay, so on this note, we're gonna be
end us all. Just make it end, please.
hope you all enjoyed and see you next time.
Oh no! You zoomed in on it.
I'm gonna take us out. I'm gonna take us out. MLPDS finished. There we go. I have a screen for this. There it is. No, the time is wrong. It put half an hour on that time.
Oh god.
we changed. But yes, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for joining us.
Yep,
thank you all for being silly. And we'll see you later.
Sorry for the nightmares.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.